Hi, and welcome to Rick on Real Estate. I'm Rick Van Wieren at RE/MAX Properties, and joining me here today is Ashley Bush. She is the co-owner of a legacy title company here in Colorado Springs and has been doing my closings for years. In Colorado, it is the seller's prerogative usually to choose the closer, but I find that many sellers don't really know much about the title companies in town and the closers, and so Ashley does a ton of closings for my sellers. Today we're here to talk about what the role of the title company closer is in the real estate transaction. So Ashley, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. So, you know, when we put a property under contract, one of the first things we do is order a title commitment. It's one of the first deadlines on the contract, and it's something that as the listing agent we take care of, but the buyer's agent's looking for that right away too. Tell us about kind of the mechanics. What happens after that?
So after we receive the order, the title commitment gets processed, it's going to go to your closing department. And the closing department, depending on who the closer is, will start processing that file, taking care of requirements, so that when we get to the closing table, you can be issued a policy free and clear of liens.
So the liens that you're typically talking about are going to be the mortgages that the seller may have had on the property. And do you find that those are always neatly taken care of between transactions?
No. Sometimes it's always a mystery of how we're going to get it resolved too, because it could be an issue from a prior sale. It could be just something that maybe the owner really wasn't aware of, that it was a line of credit maybe that they have had zero balance on, haven't paid on it in years, so it could be, you know, a couple different things.
And the IRS, I've heard, gets involved occasionally in this stuff. We certainly have seen some unusual things between the IRS and the courts where they'll possibly file a lien on somebody for a judgment or something like that. So there's a fair amount of work, it sounds like you guys do, to kind of make sure everybody's kind of clean going into this thing. So on the payoff itself, one of the things that I've noticed in our closings is that the seller will have an expectation sometimes of what they owe, and they're very surprised when they get to closing and the payoff statement that came from their lender wasn't the same as what their last bank statement had been from that same lender. Tell us about why there's differences there.
Yeah, we do get this question a lot, and interest is paid in arrears, meaning that when you make a mortgage payment for the month that you're in, it's actually paying for the interest from the month prior to. So when we go to closing, depending on, like I said, the month we're in, if we're in October, you've made October's payment, you'll be paying interest through the day of closing, plus we add a couple extra days just to make sure that that payoff gets to that lender and pays off that loan.
So you mentioned proration of interest, and it occurs to me there's other things you prorate too. Talk to me about taxes a little bit, because that's another whole thing. Property taxes in Colorado are also paid in arrears, right?
Correct. So a lot of times we get the calls where we're putting on taxes for we're prorating taxes for 2018. When most people have paid that tax bill in 2018, they think that it's for 2018 taxes, and it is not. In our county, we pay taxes in arrears, so those taxes that they have been paid are for 2017 taxes. So at closing, you got to give the buyer credit for those taxes, because next year when they get that tax bill for 2018, then they'll be responsible for paying that, since the credit was given at the time of closing. Yeah,
and most of our buyers, I would say, are having their taxes actually collected as a part of their house payment. So how does that all work when they've been paying their lender and then they go to sell the property? How do you kind of get those accounts to all balance out?
Well, when we do the proration of taxes, and then once we pay off the loan through your lender, if your lender is escrowing for those taxes and insurance, that is money that will come back to you once we paid them off. That escrow account will be refunded to you. Now on the insurance side of it, the insurance company is always paid a year in advance. So depending on when that year was paid, you're going to get some money back out of your escrow account from your lender we paid off, and you'll need to call your insurance company after we close and get that money back from them. That should be prorated from the time that was paid.
So the funds that you either give them a check for at closing or wire into their account are not the complete proceeds from the sale. They also get a refund check from their lender potentially and from their insurance company.
Correct.
For monies that they've put into
that is
escrow.
correct. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the closing table itself. I've been to a lot of closings, and I came to Colorado from California, where we were an escrow state, and you never met the other party, and the money was all just kind of handled invisibly, and you signed a bunch of stuff, and then somebody called you and basically told you when the deal had funded. Here in Colorado, we do it a lot different, don't we?
We do. I say we're still one of the most trusting states there is, because there's not a lot of states that do this. We call it, escrow will call it, or lenders will call it, a wet table funding state, where we get to the closing, we sign your documents, and in most cases, we fund at the table, you receive your keys, everyone walks away, moves into their house, and is happy.
And it's usually a very happy time. One of the reasons I love closing with Ashley is she's such a positive person, and the fact is that closing should be a happy time. The seller is getting their proceeds, the buyer is getting a house and keys and a chance to start a new life at their new address. And so we appreciate the work that Legacy Title does for us in terms of making that all just a very happy and stress-free experience. Well, thanks a lot for joining me here today. Appreciate it. And thanks for joining us on Rick on Real Estate. Again, Rick Van Wieren at RE/MAX Properties.